Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of council and the public. Welcome to Policy and Priorities, April 18th. First item is to call to order the meeting and declaration of quorum. I see that we have quorum. Secondly, it's been moved by Councillor King that the agenda for the April 18th, 2017 regular meeting of Policy and Priorities meeting be adopted. Any changes, any alterations, any? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. Third order of business is disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have three conflicts of interest I need to declare.
Go ahead.
Regarding 4.3, which is 788 and 792 Welland Road, I am in the circulation area. It's my principal residence is in that circulation area, so I need to declare that conflict. With 4.4 regarding 238 Church Street, the applicant has done work on my home and was doing work, I think, when the application was made. And finally, on 4.5, which is 1050 Church Street, again, I'm in the circulation area where our house is. It's right across the street, so I need to declare conflicts of interest on each of those items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Any other conflicts? Hearing none, then we'll accept those as stated by the mayor, and we'll excuse you during the course of discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
4.3, 4.4, 4.5. Okay, under new business, item 4.1, moved by Councillor Durley, and it is a report regarding the recommendation of an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application for 105 Highway 20 East, file number OPAM 0117 AM 017. And the recommendation is that the Policy and Priorities Committee receive this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to the application file OPAM 0117 AM 017 regarding 105 Highway 20 East, and the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw for the official plan amendment to redesignate the land located on the east side of Station Street, north of Highway 20 East, municipally referred to as 150 Highway East, from urban highway commercial to site-specific downtown transitional area for council's consideration, and the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the land located on the east side of Station Street, north of Highway 20 East, municipally referred to as 105 Highway 20 East, from a site-specific neighborhood commercial 85 and C85 zone to a site-specific general commercial zone and a site-specific residential multi-RM1 zone for council's consideration. And the committee recommend the council approve the bylaw for the site-specific official plan amendment, and the committee recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw. Comments or questions? Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chair, just want to comment that very pleased that we're at this stage with this development. It is similar, I think, to some of the developments that were harkened back in council in terms of the presentation that we received from staff, in terms of creating wealth for the community, those kind of initiatives, and it's a beautiful development that the applicant has put forward. Meets the design guidelines, increases the density in the area, takes really a brownfield development that has had some issues with it perhaps, and they've cleaned that up and are fixing this and turning it into a very active site. And staff have worked extensively with the applicant to make sure that all the issues were addressed, and also the applicant was very accommodating to members of the public and working together with the public and addressing their concerns. So this looks like a wonderful development for the community, and I hope, as I'm sure all of council does, that this will occur rather quickly and be a great addition to the community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd echo the mayor's comments. This is a highly ambitious project, one which will change that section of our town's face for years and years to come. But I think one thing that should bring comfort to the neighbors there, and that is the site plan process. Right. And the fact that that site plan process will ensure that there's sufficient buffering, that the traffic flows are adequate, that the parking is handled properly. Regardless of whether the density is the lower number or the higher number, I know our staff will ensure within that site plan process that all of their interests will be protected as expressed in the public meetings. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad to see this happen.
Thank you, Councillor Kersey. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next item, 4.2. It's a recommendation report regarding official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application for 1732 Green Street. It's been moved by Councillor Durley. And the recommendation is as follows: that the Policy and Priorities Committee receive this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to applications file OPAM 0217, AM 0317 regarding 1732 Cream Street, and that committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to repeal bylaw number 3605 in 2015 for council's consideration, and the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the land located on the west side of Cream Street, north of Tice Road, municipally referred to as 1732 Cream Street, for site-specific official plan amendment to permit within the specialty agricultural designation a secondary dwelling on heritage properties in accordance with policy B2-1-3-4, and to exclude the reference to site plan control in policy B2-1-3-4 for council's consideration, and that the committee direct planning staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to amend the land located on the west side of Queen Street, north of Tice Road, municipally referred to as 1732 Cream Street, from agricultural A to site-specific agricultural A zone, to permit a secondary dwelling unit that is designated under the Ontario Heritage Act for council's consideration, and that committee recommend that council approve the bylaw to repeal bylaw number 3605, 2015, and that council recommend the council approve the bylaw for a site-specific official plan amendment, and the committee recommend that council approve the bylaw to rezone the subject parcel. Comments or questions? Councilor Kersey.
Mr. Chair, I think it's important that we say for the public record that the circumstances surrounding this allowance of a secondary dwelling on a piece of property in an agricultural zone of all things is very, very narrow, and it's defined. Its boundaries are extremely defined. We heard at the public meeting some concern expressed that this might be opening a can of worms. It might open the door for subsequent division of land in the surrounding areas. Nothing could be further from the truth. The provincial policy statements, the regional policy statements, and our own official plan specifically define the circumstances in which this type of thing can occur. Right. And what we're doing here is exercising our right under those very narrow guidelines to protect part of our history, part of the history of this community, which in many circumstances we have a difficulty doing, because of pushback of the owners or the surrounding neighborhood. Here we have an owner who has gone to great extent to protect that heritage piece, and we are able, within the very narrow confines of our planning documents, to allow that. So I think this is a great thing. It's a win-win for the community, and it's a win for the owner who wishes to protect this heritage asset. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well stated, Councilor Kersey. Anyone else? Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Just to build on Councillor Kersey's comments, and he made similar comments at the public meeting, and I'm very pleased that he made these comments tonight. Just to add to, I agree with absolutely with everything that he said, and just to add to it, sort of at a higher level, the comfort maple tree is a valued symbol in our community. It's in our crest. It's going to be on our mural for Canada Day. Mm-hmm. It is designated as heritage. And an extension of that, those that lived in this house that has been designated were those that obviously cared for heritage not only of that comfort maple, but of their home. And those that purchase that property, the applicant, have the same care and concern for heritage features. And this allows for this feature, this home, to be carried on and continued to be there, lived in, as it was intended to be when it was first built and continued, but also preserved on the same property as the comfort maple. So I think it's important for us to recognize that, and again, as Councillor Kersey has said, to commend the owners of the property to come forward with this way of honoring the town's history, honoring the heritage of that, and yet also achieving the goals that they have for the property. So just, I think it's a win-win-win, and it's a great way to achieve those goals. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well said, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
Excuse me for the next three items. Okay, item 4.3, it's a recommendation report regarding a zoning bylaw amendment application received for 788-792 Welland Road, file number AM0217, that the Policy and Priorities Committee receives this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to application file number AM0217 regarding 788 and 792 Welland Road, and the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the land located on the south side of Welland Road, east of Church Street, municipally referred to as 788 Welland Road, from residential village, RV1, to site-specific neighborhood commercial, NC 262, with a holding provision and to remove the holding provision from the land, municipally referred to as 792 Welland Road, for council's consideration, and that council recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw. Comments or questions, colleagues? Councillor Christie.
Mr. Chair. Again, very briefly, not to belabor the point, I think this is an excellent development for Fenwick. It will certainly help to drive the downtown core revitalization. It'll bring new folks to use the new library, new commercial business to help push ahead the economy of Fenwick. There were some concerns expressed regarding drainage and what have you, and I trust our staff will look after that at the site plan stage. When one looks at the design that was brought forward by the consultants, very representative of the surrounding community. It was a brilliant undertaking to go around and take pictures of the surrounding neighborhood and incorporate that into the design. I think it's a far nicer design than what was initially brought forward. And the developer, I'm sure, will put his great skills to this development, and it'll be a highlight of the Fenwick community. So I look forward to it happening.
Thank you, Councillor Kersey. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Next item, 4.4, it's a recommendation report regarding a zoning bylaw amendment application received for 238 Church Street. And it's recommended that the Policy and Priorities Committee receives this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to application file AM0417 regarding 238 Church Street, and that the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the land located on the south side of Weber Road, Regional Road 29, west of Church Street, municipally referred to as 238 Church Street, from agricultural A to site-specific agricultural A zone, indicating the agricultural purposes only in perpetuity for council's consideration, and the committee recommend that council approve the zoning bylaw. Colleagues, any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 4.5, it's a recommendation report regarding a zoning bylaw amendment application received for 1050 Church Street, file number AM0517, and that the Policy and Priorities Committee received this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to application file number AM0517 regarding 1050 Church Street, and that the committee direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw to amend the land located on the south side of Canberra Road, west of Church Street, municipally referred to as 1050 Church Street, from institutional to site-specific residential village 1, RV1, zone for council's consideration, and the committee recommend the council approve the zoning bylaw. Colleagues, comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And finally, moved by Councillor King, and it's voting methods for the 2018 municipal election. The council recommend to council, the committee recommend to council that the report entitled Voting Methods for the 2018 election be received, and the following recommendations be endorsed by council. That the council reaffirm the use of AccuVote optical scanning vote tabulators and touchscreen vote tabulators. 2, that the clerk be directed to prepare the necessary bylaw for consideration May 1st, 2017. 3, that the clerk be directed to review and update all procedures required for the conduct of the 2018 municipal election in accordance with the requirements of the Municipal Elections Act. 4, that the mayor and clerk be provided the delegated authority to execute any agreements necessary to implement the 2018 municipal election. And 5, that the clerk be directed to prepare a policy regarding circumstances in which a municipality requires a recount. Colleagues, comments or questions? Is Mr. Trump around? No. Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. And finally, moved by Councillor Durley, that this regular meeting of Policy and Priorities Committee be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for May 1st, 2017, following council. All in favor? Thank you. And we are adjourned.